So I want to do a video on how to shop for Turo cars if you're buying older, cheaper cars. You know, stuff that's like 10 years or older and that has higher mileage, mileage over 70,000 miles, or a car that you're going to have on Turo and get up over that 100,000 mile marker. I would say really, really important, in my opinion at least, to get cars that are going to be reliable and that you're not going to spend a ton of money on repairs for. Like, I saw a Turo video where a guy was recommending, he said that he bought a Ford Focus and he was recommending buying cheap cars like that for Turo. Ford Focuses are trash. They're some of the most unreliable cars ever. I think if you had one of those on Turo, for any amount of time, you'd probably end up really not making any money, or maybe even losing money in the long run just due to repairs. I mean, if you're doing your own repairs, you could probably get away with making a profit mainly, but especially if you're not doing your own repairs and you're paying shops to do repairs, you could easily lose money with having a car like that. And first thing I'll say is I do buy my cars off of Craigslist mostly. If you're buying from just the owners, like, you can click on here and just filter owner instead of dealers or all. You can usually get much better deals from owners if you're buying cars. I would say around the under 17,000 at least. Probably once you get into cars over 20,000, there aren't much private sellers. It's mostly just dealers. But like, especially cheaper cars, you can get much better, cheaper cars from owners, and you can end up having to pay less fees and stuff. So a couple of sites that I would use to check reliability of cars you're looking at, I'd say buy a membership to Consumer Reports and look up cars. It's only $10 a month. So you're looking at buying like one car, you could even just pay for the membership for 1 month and then just cancel it after you buy the car. So for instance, here's a Ford Focus here, and one really good thing is you can look at all the different model years. So what you do is you can just go to the home page, show you how easy it is. Ford Focus, and Consumer Reports is really good for buying things like, say an air purifier or a water purifier. That's something if you buy, you really don't know if it's even working at all, unless you look at a site like this where they actually do tests and see how well it works. And they do tests with all kinds of stuff on here. You can look up, stuff like car tires as well. So look up a Ford Focus here. They have all the different years, but you can click on any year and they'll show you all the different years. So here's the reliability right here. So what we're looking at. And they have these rankings here. This dark red is by far the worst. You can see with the Ford Focus from 2012 to 2018, they all got the worst ranking. Apparently the 2011 was actually pretty decent. So I guess if you could buy a 2011, you could probably get one of those for really cheap. Or a 2008, which now you need 2009 or newer with Turo, but you can see how bad these cars can be. And in general, Toyotas and Hondas are going to be the most reliable. Not that they always are. Let's look up Honda Pilot. Recently bought one of those, and I think not all of the years looked very reliable. I think I was avoiding certain years. So 2017 was really bad. Yeah, 2010 and 2011 really bad. I ended up buying a 2013. 2014 would have been better, but this lighter green rating is the second to best rating, so I was comfortable with that. And keep in mind, you could end up, you could buy a car that has a bad reliability rating and get lucky. But it's just the worse reliability it has, just the worse of a risk it is when you're buying that car. And you're buying it for a business. The whole goal of it is to make money. So I'd rather lower my risk as much as possible. And once you go to the reliability, you can click on view all reliability. They'll give you more details, which is really cool. And they still give you the info for all the years lined up like that. Show more trouble spots. Usually the really bad ones, they'll have, really bad reliability in like engine major problems. So I think Engine major is something where an engine rebuild or replacement. So that's something that'll, a repair that could cost like $4,000 or more basically. And transmission major, like a lot of cars will have transmission problems. We have to replace the transmission. It's probably at least a $3,000 repair if you're getting a shop to do it. So like 2016 and 17 years you definitely want to avoid with a Honda Pilot. Then 2010 it had engine major, engine cooling problems, transmission got the worst reliability rating, and the engine. So that's obviously a horrible year. You don't want to buy that. It's much more, and it's not like all the cars are going to be bad like that, but it's just if you get that year, it's much more likely that you'll have those problems. It's just a much bigger risk. And then another site you can use that's free is Car Complaints. So here's like a Toyota Sienna, and you can look at the different years. It's like this is how many complaints that they have. And if you get like the seal of awesome here, that's good. Or sometimes it'll have the bad seal right there. You can click on this and it'll show you like what most of the complaints are. So like most of the complaints were loss of power upon acceleration. Let's go back to the years. So like 2010 had very little. This got the seal of awesome. Some of the ones that are bad, this got a seal of pretty good. So all of these look pretty good. Like I think the Honda, what's the Honda minivan? The Odyssey. I think the Odysseys were like a lot more unreliable. I didn't spell it right. Odyssey 1D. Okay. Honda Odyssey. Let's go to this one. Seal is pretty good. Anyway, you get the idea. That's how you go through it. And another thing is, if you're not buying it from a dealer, private party, you have to make sure that you buy a Carfax. Ask the seller for the VIN number, or you can use the license plate and usually get the VIN too on the Carfax site. But I won't even go and bother to go drive and look at the car unless I buy a Carfax and look at it first, unless the car is just like a 5-minute drive away or something. But you have to make sure you get a Carfax before you look at it. And I wish I could still look at one of the bad ones I looked at, but actually this RAV4 right here, it was the second to last car I looked at before I bought this Honda Pilot. The price was really cheap on Craigslist, and a lot of times when they're very underpriced, it's for a reason. Especially if they've been on Craigslist for a while, they haven't sold yet. There's usually some sort of problem or reason why it is that you can't tell from the ad. This car had a salvage title in the past, but the title had been like rebuilt and then washed, so I think it looked like a clean title now, but you could see it on the report. It had been salvaged before. That's something you can't have on Turo. If you get in an accident, they're going to deny the claim because they're probably going to find out, especially if the car gets totaled, they're going to deny the claim because they're going to find out about that salvage, and that's against their policy, so you're not going to get paid any money out for that. Or they'll just delist it if they find out about it too. You might not even be able to list it at first. This car also had mileage rollback, which you could see on the Carfax. So this thing was trash. Like the mileage is way higher than it's set on the odometer. And then what you want is, obviously you don't want there to be issues like that. What you really want to see is you can look at all the what's it called, the maintenance history. It's good too if you're buying a car. You really want to look for if there's any major maintenance that needs to get done on that car. So the Honda Pilots is really usually common with 6-cylinder engines. They usually have a timing belt. The timing belt is a maintenance item that usually has to get replaced around 100,000 miles. Pretty much all 4-cylinders will have a timing chain that never needs any work or replacement, at least on Hondas and Toyotas. Something like, I think Mini Coopers need some sort of service or replacement with the timing chain too, around 100,000 miles. Toyota Siennas, the minivans, the newer ones actually don't use timing belts, so they never need to be replaced. But This Honda Pilot that needs to get the timing belt replaced around 100,000 miles. This is a repair cost. If you got it done in a shop, would be, I think, near to at least $1,500, maybe near $2,000. It's very labor intensive. And so this is something you wouldn't want to buy one of these if it's around 100,000 miles, especially if it's over 100, like the mileage where you're supposed to get it done, if it hasn't had that repair done yet, unless you're getting it cheap enough to where the price makes sense. So this guy told me, I think he even put in the ad, he had gotten the timing belt replaced. He still had the receipt for it, which I asked him about before I went and looked at it. And you can see on the Carfax that it got the timing belt done somewhere. Yeah, and the water says right here, 111,000 miles in December 2020. Water pump replaced, which is something that they replace with the timing belt. Spark plugs replaced. Drivability performed, checked. Usually the less owners, the better. This vehicle had 3 owners, but I wasn't really worried. The main thing you want to look for is just all these records of service, and it's better if they're done at a dealer. Not because a dealer does better work than a shop, but if the work is getting done at the dealer, it means that the person who owns the car really cares about it. They have more money that they can afford all the maintenance, and the dealer, they know the maintenance schedules on their cars, and they will remind you like, hey, it's time to, just get this safety check done on the suspension with this amount of mileage. Time to get the oil changed. Time to get the transmission fluid changed. Transmission fluid being changed is, I'd say, something that gets really neglected with used cars. That usually is supposed to get changed around 70,000 miles or something like that. It's something that you want to look for. And if you buy a car with around the mileage where the transmission fluid's about to get changed, you want to see if it's gotten changed. Something too, if the vehicle has been maintained at a dealer, you can call up the dealership, give them the VIN number and ask, hey, has the transmission fluid been changed on this? Do you have a record of that? And I've done that with cars I bought. If they say no, I'll make sure to change it. So this, you can see it's been serviced at AutoNation Honda Roseville. So that's a Honda dealership. So all this maintenance here, all this stuff has been getting done at the Honda dealership. This is the first owner, all the way up to, and they say the mileage, 95,000 miles. Then it got sold at a dealer's, probably traded in. Owner number 2 only had it for about 3 years. Wasn't a lot of service on here, but he only had it for 3 years, and he only drove it about 15,000 miles. The next owner, you can see there's more service stuff. See, it's not done at the dealer anymore like with the first owner. But the car only had about, not that much higher mileage. And what does it say? Oh, I was wondering why it had 5 owners now. It's because I actually put it in my business name, but then I had to switch it to my name. So those are both just me. But anyway, the third owner here, like I said, he got he got the timing belt done and all that stuff. I met the guy. He was a guy that obviously had enough money to take good care of his cars, and he did. So I was confident that this car, would have been pretty reliable when I got it. So I thought it was a good buy. It was a decent price. So this is all the stuff that you want, and you definitely want to get it inspected by get a pre-purchase inspected done by a professional mechanic. Unless you're a mechanic yourself and you know how to do this stuff, or you know how to do repairs yourself and you're willing to just take the risk, you really want to get a pre-purchase inspection done. There's mobile mechanics too that can do pre-purchase inspections. They could just come to the car at the person's house and get it done. They only cost about $150, but they could just save you, thousands of dollars of repairs in the future. So I definitely recommend getting the pre-purchase inspection done with every car that you buy. So I would recommend getting Consumer Reports, looking up the cars on there. Very least looking up free sites like car complaints. Make sure to look at the Carfax before you even bother to go look at the car, and then get a pre-purchase inspection done. If you do all that stuff, you should end up with a pretty reliable car. I mean, still random stuff happens. It's not guaranteed, but it should be, a lot better car for your business. It should make you a lot more money.